This is where we've been screwing up. Bob Brunn, Royals have a couple of very nice right-handed pitchers in their minor league system, and I know they are looking to hold on to their major league roster. Here's my thing. Based on the comments in this Goold article, he's mentioning having 8 or 9 pitchers to trade from. They had really 6 starters last year. Then they had Brian Bergert and Stephen Kolek, who they got on the market when they traded their catcher to the Padres. I feel like what the quotes I'm seeing here from the Royals, and please tell me if you disagree with how you're reading this, I feel like some of the major league pitchers are on the board for a Brendan Donovan if we're talking about a Royals trade.
I would think so, yeah. And what you're looking more for is significant control. The guys that are under control for 3 or 4 years, because the Cardinals, yes, they do have young pitchers on the horizon, but they also want to have a level of stability when they make a move. When you're trading somebody who has the value that Brendan Donovan has, you should get a pretty good return, and you should get a guy that is going to be with your team for a while. One thing that's interesting about the Royals is that they aren't overloaded with top 30 pitching prospects that are major league ready. Their top pitching prospect, their number 6 overall, is in A-ball. They do have their 7th rated prospect is in AAA and has an ETA of 2026, but then they've got several more A-ball pitchers before you find a guy that has an ETA of 2026. They don't have a ton of prospects, but as you mentioned, Matthew, they do have some guys that have been at the major league level, and they got some pitchers from San Diego last year when they traded for Mean. So maybe that's what you're looking at, is some pitchers that have been with them for the last couple of years where they've had a level of success.
Sorry, I am going to share a screen here because one of the fun things I can do when I'm at home and I have my whole desktop in front of me is that we can just take a look at the baseball reference page for the Kansas City Royals, and everyone gets to take a nice little peek at what the hell we're talking. So let's shift around the cameras here, and let's do this whole thing. So make it a little bit bigger, and then we can zoom in.
Okay. So number one, I think we're zeroed in on guys that have been starting pitchers, right? We don't want to turn a relief pitcher into a starter.
Yes.
Is that a safe assumption?
And that's one of my things when you look at some of these pitchers, because we talked about the trade that the Royals made. Ryan Bergert's one of those guys, but this is a guy who's like career high is 70 innings. So, I mean, Stephen Kolek was the other guy, and you can see him down here, 1.9 ERA in the 5 starts he had for the Royals, 28 years old. I think that's the low level of what we're talking about if we're talking about a Brendan Donovan trade. I legitimately think this Kris Bubic, Cole Ragans, I think that's a reasonable thing because of all the versatility and all the talent that we just talked about with Brendan Donovan. I think Noah Cameron's probably shooting the moon a little bit if we're talking about expectations and what the Royals would want to give up.
Wouldn't you feel the same way about Cole Ragans?
I think it's a little bit different because yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, this is a guy that he'll pitch next year at 28.
You know what?
He's left-handed. His major league success has been outstanding. His first year when he got traded for Aroldis Chapman, he has a 2.64. He strikes out a bunch of guys. He struck out 89 and 71 and 2/3 his first year with the Royals. In his first full year, he strikes out 223 and 186 and a third. Was injured last year. I would be very surprised if Kansas City would be willing to move him.
Yeah, I screwed up Bubic's and Ragans' free agency time because Ragans has another 2 years. Bubic has just 1. So right there, you're playing the contract length and control game. So I don't know. Maybe Kolek is the guy that we should be looking at.
Yeah, maybe Kolek is the guy. That makes sense from a Cardinals standpoint. But that being said, I think
that he is enough of a question mark. Not that he's not going to be good. I'm not saying that, but I think that he is enough of a question mark that if you're the Cardinals, you would have to get something in addition to him if you're giving up Brendan Donovan. And that might be the minor league guy that we're talking about, because so you get a major leaguer and a minor leaguer, and then if they want a low level prospect back, they can do that. But I just don't think that the Cardinals are in a position now to be trading Brendan Donovan for one guy. I think they need to get multiple guys for him, multiple pitchers for Brendan Donovan.
And this is why I'm interested in your opinion a lot, Randy, because Craig Lewis says Donovan should bring at minimum a number 2 starter. And this is the tricky thing with these trade things is I'm am I shooting too low? Is Craig Lewis shooting too high? Because a minimum a number 2 starter seems like, again, play the game. Who says no first? You call these 4 teams and ask for a number 2 level starter, other than the Dodgers, because they could have multiple of them. I think everyone else says no.
Yeah, for Brendan Donovan?
Yeah, for one of their number 2 starters. I think everyone else says no.
Yeah, and that's the value of starting pitching. It's much easier to find a second baseman or even a versatile player, and a really good versatile player. It's easier to find that guy than it is to find a quality starting pitcher. Let's just take a look at, as an example, the number 2 guy last year for the Guardians. You're probably going Gavin Williams 1, Tanner Bibee 2. Bibee gives you 182 innings, strikes out 162, 4.24 earned run average. That's their number 2. I don't think that Cleveland would give up Bibee straight up for Donovan. I think that the Cardinals would have to throw a little bit more in. And as I mentioned, I think the Cardinals would want to get another pitcher back because Bibee's 26. His control, I think does he have 2 years in? I think he might have 4 years of control left. Let me double check here for you. His service time is he's got 2 years left, but I don't think this is a guy that was starting game 1 of the playoffs for the Guardians. So I just don't think that they're going to be trading their number 2, and everybody's number 2 is different. I mean, look at our situation with the number 2 starter. So if you can get a number 2 starter for the Cardinals in this deal, maybe that's what you're talking about, then that's reasonable. But if you're looking for a number 2 starter from a team that was in the playoffs last year, I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, there's no way on God's green earth. Tanner Bibee, 26 years old, and he's under control through 2030. There's no way in hell. I mean, just talent level. At the same time, one other thing we got to get to, and good job by Wilson. He just sent me this. So before I get into this, I was going to turn the chat a little bit, but let me read this because this is from The Athletic that just popped up. To be clear, there's a path in which the Royals hold on to Bubic. Their rotation is a strength, and Bubic is among the reasons why. Trading him, however, presents a logical way to net the kind of return that improves their lineup, particularly, perhaps in the outfield, an area where Kansas City wants an upgrade. More specifically, the Royals eye a left fielder so Joe Caglianone can play right field. So right there in The Athletic, good job by Wilson passing that along. That, a guy who did pop up, a little bit of a smaller amount of control, but he was an all-star last year, but all his numbers say that could be just kind of a splash in the pan. Maybe the Royals and Cardinals could find a deal there.
Yeah, and the Royals extended Seth Lugo before the deadline last year, so they like him. They still have Michael Wacha under contract, and he's actually performed very well for the Royals. They have Lorenzen under contract, even though he's 33, and like we mentioned earlier, they still have Ragans. Bubic might be an expendable part for them. If they want to go with Cameron, who started 24, and it's Wacha, Lugo, Lorenzen, Cameron, Ragans, and then they can find that replacement, that depth guy, and move a guy like Bubic, who could be a number 2 or 3 starter for the Cardinals, then you might have something. And Bubic, by the way, had a good year, and he's had a good career. So that would not be a bad start for the Cardinals at all. I think that's an intriguing move.
But to your point, if Bubic is the main part of the trade from the Royals,
Mm-hmm.
how much or how high of the value is the second player they have to throw on for you or the Cardinals in this situation not to say no first?
Well, maybe you get a bullpen piece. Maybe you get, as we mentioned earlier, their seventh or eighth prospect. Maybe you get a guy that was a fringe starter for them last year. Maybe you do get a guy like Kolek, who, and then the Cardinals would throw something else in. They had a lot of people, even young guys, that started games for them last year in Kansas City. I would hope that you could get two starters out of Brendan Donovan. And it doesn't have to be the Royals. You could go to the Guardians, and nobody knows the Guardians better than Rob Cerfolio, the Cardinals assistant general manager, and Larry Day, the Cardinals farm director. And you can ask them and say, okay, trust your guys and say, we know that we're getting quality out of this because our guys drafted and developed these players from Cleveland. You have a pretty good idea of what the guys in Los Angeles are and what they are capable of being. So I think there's enough teams out there that the Cardinals can feel comfortable that they could get two starters for Donovan. If, as that executive that told Derrick, there are half of the teams in baseball that are interested in Brendan Donovan, wouldn't you think one of them would be willing to give up a middle of the rotation starter like a Bubic and then another pitcher? It seems like if there's competition for the services of the player, that you can get a lot for the player.
And that's why a chat like Bill Downton's kind of surprises me. Sorry, but Donovan is not going to get you two major league starters. We agree with that. We're not saying that. Nothing in the reporting saying two major league starters. We're talking about one major league starter, and then if it's a guy like Bubic who doesn't have a ton of control, only has one really good season as a Major League Baseball pitcher, we're just saying that if you're the Cardinals, there's got to be a little bit more added on to that deal from the Royals' perspective, because to everything we're just reading, Major League Baseball GMs are valuing Brendan Donovan at a very high level.
Right. And I value him at a high level.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals, I know, value him at a high level. That is not a guy that you give away for a back of the rotation. For example, if somebody had the equivalent of Andre Pallante, who made 28, 29 starts in 2025. If somebody is offering the equivalent of Andre Pallante, I don't trade Brendan Donovan for that. I've got to get a legitimate middle of the rotation guy, and then either a depth piece, a younger guy, a guy with potential, a guy that maybe I know about that they don't. In the case of the Guardians, I've got to get another piece that has a chance at least to have some value. And to that point about Donovan not going to get you two major league starters, maybe not in 2026, but down the line, again, this is a guy that was a Silver Slugger finalist. He's won a Gold Glove. He's been an all-star. Everybody in baseball knows that he's a glue guy. He's a winner. You want him on your team. He's right in the prime of his career. He's going to turn 30 years old. There are a lot of positives about Brendan Donovan. Positives that at this stage of their existence, the Cardinals really can't utilize because he's a player that's ready to win right now, and they aren't an organization that's ready to win right now. And, oh, by the way, they want to get J.J. Weatherholt into their lineup. So you can either plug him in left and maybe bench Alec Burleson because Herrera is going to be your DH. Why would you want to bench Burleson? Unfortunately for Brendan Donovan, because of the presence of Weatherholt and because of the injury to Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan becomes a redundant piece for you because you're going to play Weatherholt at second. And if you could trade Nootbaar and then move J.J. Weatherholt around, whether it's to third or to the outfield, there's a lot of different things. You could use him as more of a utility, more of a Tommy Edman super sub kind of guy. That's not going to happen now. And by the way, the Cardinals might, I don't know how they're going to handle third base. They think that under the circumstances that for them, Nolan Arenado was described to me as a perfectly good player. Not at the price, but he's a perfectly good player. If they move Donovan and they move Gorman, then it seems like they would have to keep Nolan Arenado. If they move Gorman or Donovan and move Arenado, seems like they have to have Gorman to play third. At some point here, if they don't trade Donovan, Matthew, then you're going to have to trade both Gorman and Arenado, and Donovan's going to have to be your third baseman. Hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download the app now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live, and DraftKings Sportsbook will bring everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings officially goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, it's secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1st in Missouri. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Or Weatherholt's going to have to be your third baseman and Donovan stays at second.
It's not the worst case. And Keith Adam brings up his argument. Fellas, it's not about emotion. A couple of days ago, you just explained why Donovan is perfect for a rebuilding time, but they would trade him. That is stupid. I don't agree that he's the perfect player for a rebuilding team. If he was willing to sign an extension, I'm not saying he's not, but the fact that the extension isn't coming and arbitration is looming again, that's why, for me, that's the final straw. The facts
Matthew,
that
let's try to ask ourselves a question here and see if we can answer Keith's question, or at least respond to his comment. What type of team is Brendan Donovan not perfect for? He's a team player. He takes care of his teammates. He's versatile. He gives great effort. He's a good hitter. He's a good defender. What team would he not be perfect for? He's, in my opinion, rebuilding team. He's 29 years old. Old team, he's a veteran. He can play offense. He can play defense. He can play multiple positions. And oh, by the way, he's still not making a ton of money. What team in baseball would he not be perfect for?
Yeah, you're right. They're not mutually exclusive things. He can be perfect for a rebuilding team, and a trade can make sense.
Oh, absolutely. So, and the Cardinals, again, have the redundancy. Now, they have to make sure that this sucker hits. If they're going to trade Brendan Donovan, then the trade has to work. And I am of the opinion that, and I have a ton of faith in Chaim Bloom and his staff. I'm just of the opinion that the Cardinals would be better off in dealing with teams that they have a more intimate knowledge of. And that would include, and by the way, they do have a knowledge, an extent of the Dodgers, because the Cardinals director of performance came from the Dodgers. But they know the Guardians best. They know the Seattle Mariners very well. I don't know what their knowledge level is. They've got a lot of scouts that have kept an eye on the guys on the Royals. But, and I don't know how much that knowledge means to the Cardinals, because they have so much video and they have so many different aspects of knowledge about players, whether it's video, analytics, whatever. But I hope the Cardinals know a ton about the people that they're getting, including how they are in the clubhouse and how they are from a competitive standpoint. You don't want a guy, all due respect to Brett Cecil, you don't want a guy who spends all of his time sitting in his locker playing video games, maybe at the expense of playing baseball. I just don't think that's what the Cardinals need. They need highly competitive, highly functioning players at this point.
Keith then asks, why trade him? Why trade him? Because you admit he's a good player.
So
trade.
Your choice is this. So you could move Weatherholt.
High.
Right? You can do that. Yeah, you can trade Weatherholt if you want, or if you can find somebody to take Arenado and then you trade Gorman. Those guys don't have the value that Brendan Donovan has. They aren't going to bring back the starting pitching that you need, and Brendan Donovan can bring that pitching back. So what you're looking for is the best of both worlds. You're looking for trading from your strength, trading from your depth so that you still have a good player when you trade a good player, but then you also want to add to your weakness. And I can tell you very definitively right now, not having talked to a single person from another major league team, you are not going to get a middle of the rotation starter if you trade Nolan Arenado or Nolan Gorman for that guy. It's just not going to happen.